Greetings, this is Jim Lindsay. This is a CIS lesson, and in it I'll be teaching you how to use Scribus to create PDF forms. And so to do this, I want to start out in Blackboard. Let me pull the Blackboard site up, and you'll see I'm in a folder that I've created for this PDF form lesson. You're watching that video right there. There are support files that I want you to download, and there are 5 of these files. I recommend that you download these to your computer so you can do the things that I'm going to do. Again, these are 5 different files. You have multiple PDF files. Those are the Adobe Portable Document format, and there's one SLA file in here. This demo form.pdf is the PDF version of that SLA file, and so we'll work to create portions of it in this lesson. And that's what we're going to be doing through this lesson. So jump out to Blackboard, please. You see the support files for the PDF form lesson. Please get those, and you will use those. All right, so hopefully you have done that. If you haven't, pause the video and then go get those and then come back. So I'll give you a second for that. All right, hopefully you have retrieved those files and you have those on your computer. Now let's talk about why we're covering this lesson and what's the whole point of this. Well, the whole reason I have you learn about Scribus is to be able to create these PDF forms that a user can interact with and actually complete. And this is the only software program that I'm aware of that allows you to create a form that somebody can fill out and do it for free. And so to me, this is a very valuable feature of Scribus, to the point that I know it's a weird program, and I know it's kind of difficult to get to set up the portable app thumb drive, to download it, to learn all about the weird interface of Scribus. But I think this ability to create these PDF forms that somebody can fill out makes it well worth it. And so this is the payoff, if you will. This is the fruit of all your labor for learning about Scribus, is to learn this stuff that you're learning in this lesson. So congratulations on getting to here. Now you get to enjoy the benefits of your Scribus knowledge, because now you can create these PDF forms. And so let's take a look at a couple of these. Okay, the first one I want you to take a look at is called SamplePDFForm.pdf. It's one of the files that you downloaded. If you zoom into it, again, it's Sample PDF Form, and I know the name I definitely could have come up with a better name than that. But this is an expense report that an employee would fill out for a company called Potter Gray Pork Rinds. And so as you look at this form, and when you open it, it obviously opens in Adobe Acrobat Reader. And as you look at this form, you'll see that there's information for which department does somebody work in, what is their ID number, what's the current date, what's their name, their contact information. They get to put in information about did they drive a company car or did they drive their own car. And doing that is really important, because that will basically impact the amount of reimbursement that they would get for vehicle mileage. And so and at the point when I made this form, it was the current reimbursement rate, at least at the Kentucky state level, was about 47 cents per mile. And so that's the guidance right there. You could put any monetary amount you wanted in there, but that's why that label says that. And as you scroll down the page, you'll see that there are spaces for 3 days worth of travel information. This is an exact copy of Western's travel reimbursement form, and so that's why I use this, because this is when I travel for a conference or training or whatever, this is the exact form that I have to fill out for Western. And so I can tell you from personal experience, this is exactly what they ask for. Your bosses will ask for it. So you have to tell them when you went somewhere, how far you drove, if you drove, any tolls or parking that you paid, the amount that you paid for lodging for that particular night, if you spent the night somewhere, the amount that you spent on breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And you also have to say where you went to, or where you went from and to, and the purpose of that travel. And so you would fill this out. What this form will do for you is you'll see some of the forms are blue, and those are the boxes which you can type things into, and some of the boxes are white, like this mileage paid, and then the totals for day 1, day 2, day 3, and down here at the bottom you'll see there are totals for miles driven, mileage paid, and so on. And these are fields which contain arithmetic, and basically behind the scenes in the SLA Scribus file, I've told the program to do the arithmetic for the user. And so if there was $10 here, $10 here, and $10 here, then the 3-day combined expenses is going to be $30. And so I want the program to be doing the arithmetic for the user instead of the user having to actually type all that stuff in. They just have to type in what they spent, and then the form will do all the arithmetic for them. They also get to designate whether they would like their reimbursement check sent to their home or to their office location, and then there's a location for them to put their signature. And so this is the form, and this form, I think it's a really good form. I worked hard on it. This form took me an entire workday to build. An entire 8-hour workday was devoted to creating this form. I wanted to see how far can I take this. What would be an actual work application for this, and I think that this is a good one. And so I can tell you from my experience making this, this is very time-consuming, and you have to pay a lot of attention to detail. But what you can come up with is a really good form. And so this is the one that you would fill out, that the person would fill out. Now, there are a number of ways you could handle this once it's completed. You could let the person print it out, which is, in this case, what I would do. That's kind of the scenario here. Basically, the employee would type in their information, then they would print it out, they could save it, and then they would sign it and then give the hard copy to their supervisor, who would process it. Now, in addition to that, if you wanted to take this form and take it beyond the scope of this class, you can also tie this into what are called scripts. And so there are programming languages which you can put a submit button on these forms as well. And we don't get into that in this class because I don't go into any programming. But if you wanted to take this further, in Scribus, one of the options from the Adobe PDF toolbar is a submit button, and when you hit submit, you can tell it which program to interact with. Which, okay, Scribus, take the data from this form or Adobe PDF Writer, and then send this to some particular file, some program, to be processed. And so you could tie this into a program which would save it to a database. You could save it to a program which would email the results to somebody. You could save it to a program which would do both of those things. So there's lots of different things that you can do with this data once it's completed. But in this particular application, in this specific one, I would have a person fill this out, have the program do the arithmetic, save it, and print it out, and then send it to their supervisor for processing. And again, that's the reason I would do that. That's kind of my background with this form. We've actually evolved after I created this. We've gone to a completely online version where we can use digital signatures to send this from employee to supervisor to human resources, and now we don't even have to print it out. But you could also do that with those scripts and program interfaces, which I described for you a moment ago. So that's the process. Now, how would you actually complete this? Well, you just use these interfaces here. So, choose which department you work for. Well, I work for information technology. My employee number is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And today's date is, and check this out, if you're trying to fill this out, and please be trying to fill this out, put some text in here and hit enter. It's going to say, hey, that's an invalid type of data. I'm looking for a date information, and it wants it in a specific format of month, day, year. So you have to put that in here. So I'm going to put 01, 17, last name, and you just type in text here, and so on. So you type in your information here. Now, when we get down to this one about the mileage rate, again, I'm going to try to put text in here, and you'll hear my computer chirping at me. You can't put text in there because that field is basically one which is expecting a number. And so I'm going to put in the 47 cents. 0.47 is, of course, 47 cents. So that's in there. and it's putting the dollar sign in there for me, and it knows that it's a dollar or currency amount, so it has the the 47 behind the decimal point there. And then you come down here and you put in your information, and it will then start to do the arithmetic. So I'll type in some information here, and I'll meet you back here in just a second. Okay, I want you to see this math. So I put in the date. I've typed in 100 for miles driven, and you'll see that I had the 47 cents up here for the reimbursement rate. And what's in this mileage paid field here is an arithmetic problem. It's going to calculate the product of this field and that field. And so let me just go ahead and go to the next field, and it automatically puts in $47 for me because it multiplied the 100 times that. And that's the beauty of this form. If you have people trying to calculate their own numbers here, they quite frequently could make mistakes because it's arithmetic, or they could just write illegibly, and so then the person, human resources, trying to discern whether they can reimburse this amount of money or not, they're going to have a hard time reading it, and so on. So let me get a couple more things in here. I just wanted to show you that arithmetic, as it took place. It's real time as it does it. So, and you'll see also the fields here with numbers have started to come to life, whereas before they were empty, right? So let me I'll pause it and put some more information in here, and I'll meet you back here in a second. Okay, and so I've populated the rest of the first day's information. I put in like how much I would pay for parking and tolls, lodging fees, food amounts, and so on. And you'll see that the arithmetic has been done for me as far as like it adds up all this pertinent information and gives me a total. Now down here at the bottom, it's also starting to total that stuff. And so I'll go ahead and I'm going to pause it again and fill out this day 2. And what I want you to see is that the arithmetic not only goes that way to the right, but it also will take these totals from each of the days and assemble it down here. And this is where I want you to get with your Scribus PDF form skills, is to basically create these arithmetic fields, because that's the hard part. Figuring out the layout of the form itself can be challenging, because you have to basically lay it out in such a way that the user can follow it and fill it out correctly. But the arithmetic portions, those can be especially challenging. And so, or at least in my experience in teaching this class, these arithmetic fields have been the things that present students with the biggest challenge. So let me get day 2 in here, and then I'll meet you back here in just a moment. Okay, so I have day 2 in here, and you'll see with day 2, there's I filled out the fields about the date and where I was, what I did. And what I want you to see, though, is the arithmetic. So you'll see for this day there were $179 worth of expenses. But what's interesting is down here at the bottom, it has done the arithmetic for the accumulated mileage. And because I didn't drive any, let me change that to, let's say I drove 40 miles that day. You'll see that it makes all this stuff at the bottom adds up, in addition to the things adding up. Adds up this way and it adds up that way. So that's where I want you guys to get with your forms and your abilities. Now there's another item I had you download called the completed pork rind form, and it looks like this. And you can see that completed form, and the check boxes down here, for work and home. Those simply work by you can check or uncheck a box. That's like it's an on or off state. You check which. You could also use what's called a radio button in there if this was an HTML form, but because it's Scribus, the best choice that I think you get is that checkbox. And so send my check to my house. So that's what a form looks like, and this is what I want you to be able to build. And notice as you hover over the top of things, you'll get these prompts. So this one, enter how much you paid for lodging on this date. And enter the amount of money you paid for tolls and parking on this date. This is called a tooltip, and so as you, it's not a tooltip. I'm forgetting. It might be tooltip, but basically in Scribus you get to tell it what prompt to present to the user when they have their cursor in there and they're not typing. And so these are what I hope you will be able to build. So I'm going to close this guy out, and I'm going to go to one of the other forms I wanted you to download, and then we'll start to build that one. Okay, this is the next form I want you to look at, and we're going to build this one. This is the Jim Lindsay's demonstration form. It's a much simpler form than the one that we worked at with a moment ago, but it includes the same kinds of form controls, and it has some kind of weird looking things. Like you'll see, like this box has like a really broad kind of outline, where that one has kind of a skinnier outline. You have like check boxes here, you have the combo box down here, and so I want to show you, like, this is a good way for us to learn how to create a PDF form. Now let me zoom back out to where you can see the whole page here, because we're going to essentially make this. Now think back to your Scribus flyer tutorial when you learned how to make the Rembrandt flyer, and much of what you see here is exactly like the Rembrandt flyer in respect that how this thing is formatted is completely just aesthetics. For example, you have a colored rectangle as the background, all right? So it's kind of a pink square which is serving as the background. There's a yellow rectangle with the words Jim Lindsay's demonstration form at the top of the page. Then these are just text boxes, the first name, last name, street address. All of these things you're looking at right there, those are just text boxes that I put on the page. And then you have white rectangles. Those white rectangles are just white rectangle shapes that I put on the page. Now these are white squares underneath those. Now on top of those you see these light blue or white PDF boxes that you can type things into. And if you hover over the top, you'll see these boxes that will give you these tooltips. You like type your first name, type your last name. Those boxes are separate from the white boxes, and the reason I built the form this way is because I wanted you to be able to see these, and if it's all on a white page, it's a little bit harder to see. And so to get this to be a little bit more visible, that's what I did. I basically went through the whole color thing and then put these PDF box form controls on top of the formatted stuff that I made in the back. So the first thing we'll do is basically kind of put together this page with all the white rectangles, and I'll do that pretty quickly here in Scribus for you. I won't spend a tremendous amount of time on that because I know you know how to do that, and I recommend that you do it. I've given you this SLA file, so you have this form. You have this completed form, and you can reverse engineer this if you like. So when you download the files from Blackboard, you have this complete total thing that you can look at. And everything I'll be talking to you about, you can look at it completed by me. So there's no mystery here on how to do any of this, but just to keep the lesson shorter, I'll jump over to Scribus and kind of very, very, very quickly remind you how to make the background part here, and then we'll jump into the form controls because that's where the new information is going to be for you in this lesson. Okay, I'm on my desktop and I have my portable apps open, and when I have Scribus open as well, so you need to click on Scribus and start Scribus up here. And at this point, if you're starting Scribus, it's going to prompt you and say, hey, do you want to start and make a blank document? Do you want to open something? I've just basically X'd out of that stuff. I want you to see the toolbar situation here real quickly. Make sure that this toolbar, this Adobe toolbar, is on the left side, because if you didn't move it when you first set up Scribus like I did, then it's going to be up here. And you see this toolbar starts with the OK button, and then it ends with these insert link annotation button here. You want this toolbar over here on the left. It's just going to save you a tremendous amount of time to have it over here on the left. And the way that you get that over there is you just hover where your pointer becomes the 4 points of the compass. You pull it down and you dock it over here and get it on the side. We're going to be working with these guys like crazy in this lesson to create our what I call form controls on this form. All right, so now we need a blank document, so I'm going to go to File and New, and I'll just go with a single page, and I'll just accept the defaults. I know it's going to do like the whole European thing with the A4 paper and all that. That's fine, I don't care. So I have that. So now I have my blank paper here. And just to remind you, what I'm trying to make is this sample form over here, or this demo form.pdf. And so, this was a pink triangle and then a pink square and then a yellow rectangle, right? So to get those on my page, you have like the shapes right here, and you can draw your shapes, and you know how to do all this. And so you get in there and you bring up your properties box, we go to the colors and all that good stuff. And so do this and just get these things on your page. And I also need another one, need a yellow one here that's going to be for my, to go to the colors for it. And I need to, there you go, so there's that. And just trying to move through this rather briskly so you don't have to spend time watching this part, because I know you know how to do this. And then the next part you want to do is get your text fields in here, right? And the text fields come from inserting text frames, and we don't have to be all fancy with our text here. Our text is going to be, this. If you double click in here, make sure my pointer tool is active. Double click this thing. This is the title of the form. And again, I'm just, you can make this look as much like mine as you want, but that's what I'm trying to get to. Insert a text frame here, and our first label, as we look at our sample, is the person's first name, then last name, and street address. And your labels on your forms are really important. Make sure that your labels are descriptive. You want to be as succinct as possible, but that tells the user what they're supposed to type right over here. And so I need my first name, last name, street address, and I get those on the page by, just again with my pointer tool active, my first name, do another one, do the last name, and so on. And so you know how to excuse me, you know how to do this to get these text labels for all these guys on your page. There's just a horizontal line. How do we get the white boxes on the page? Well, let me get those on the page for you. Those are achieved by you draw another rectangle here, and we're just going to make the rectangle white. Alice Blue is white. That's great. And so now I'm going to do this over and over again for these items. And when it gets down here to these squares, instead of making like in a long rectangle, I'm just going to make like a square. But that's just a text box right there. Those are text boxes to the right saying like cheese, pepperoni, olives, mushrooms, sardines. When you get down to this one right here, which animal would you most want as a pet? All you have to do is make the white box, because the choices that you see right here come from what's called a combo box. And so we'll get that achieved through the input, the form control. So let me turn this over to you, and what I want you to do is go ahead and get your labels in place, get your white rectangles in place, get your white squares in place, and your white rectangle, and then we'll move on to where we start to work with these form controls right in here. And this is where the PDF form stuff starts to come into play. Okay, so I have it there, and I must confess I did cheat. I went over to the SLA file, and I copied and pasted all the text in the white boxes, and you're welcome to do that too if you like. But I got basically everything except the form, all the PDF stuff I took all that back out. So what I now want to do is put that PDF stuff back in here. I want to show you how to create that. So let me save this. I'm going to put this to save as. I'm just going to, on my desktop, I'm going to create a folder. I'm going to call this I'm going to call this one Mouse Trap. I'm just looking for some unique folder I can easily find. So I'm going to put this in Mousetrap and call this, my Jim Lindsay form. It's going to be an SLA. I'll save that. And again, make sure when you're working with Scribus that any images, any support files, anything that went with this is also stored in that folder. Super critical. All right. So I have my file saved. It's in there. I can go back and get it whenever I want now. And now I need to start working with these PDF form controls to get this form working. How do you do that? Well, that all comes from from this Adobe PDF toolbar. And what you're going to do is you're going to insert these various different items. You're going to insert primarily text fields, check boxes, and combo box. These three right here are the ones that we're going to work with. Now, if you got into a situation where you're going to have the data interact with the script, that's when you'd go to the push button. But we're not going to do that in this class. We're going to concentrate on the text fields, the check boxes, and the combo boxes. All right, so let's do that. So the first, basically all of these on this page are going at the top of the form are going to be text fields, even though we're working with numbers, in some of them. So these are going to be text fields. I'll zoom in just a touch more, get that just a little bit bigger so you can see this. And I'm going to select insert PDF text field, and then I'm just going to draw that box where I want it to be on the page. And I'm going to make it about as big as my rectangle right there. And this is super important. Please hear me on this. Make sure your box is big enough to hold the text someone would type into it. I learned this the hard way. When I was first learning about Scribus, I had to go out and I bought a book. And by the way, the support file that goes with this is kind of a tangent, but let's see if I have it, my Blackboard stuff here with it. This PDF form reading assignment, what you see right there, this is an excerpt from that book that I bought. This is a 20-page excerpt. This is the Scribus Bible that you're getting this information from. And so when I learned how to do this stuff, I had to learn it all from that book and from what I could find on YouTube and what have you. And so one of the things I learned was, you create this form, and then you think it's going to work, and then sometimes it does work, and then you make some modifications, you come back, and all of a sudden it doesn't work. Like, what in the world is going on? Well, what I learned was that basically, if this field gets too narrow, like let's say I made that a little bit skinnier, all of a sudden that doesn't work because you can't see what's getting typed in there, and it will drive you crazy. And so if anything, make the boxes kind of too big in the beginning, and then you can kind of slim them up as you go. But what that is a text field. I went to the second button here, insert PDF text field. I put that on the page, and now what I need to do is I now need to configure that text field. And so the way that you configure all of these things is the same. You right click it, you go to PDF options, you come down to field properties. And we're not working with this properties over here. In fact, we can just take this we can take this F2 properties thing here and just close it. Because when we're working with the PDF form controls or fields here, the way we get into those is you right click, PDF options, field properties. And then from here you can do basically everything you need to do. I'm going to make that a little bit wider. You can see that you can give the thing a name, and you need to give it a name. And so I'm going to call this the first name. And first, the tooltip is what pops up when somebody hovers over the top of that. And so I'm going to type in your first name. And down here I get to tell Scribus what kind of data is going to be inserted in this box. Now I can tell it whether I'm going to go to form. Let's see, there are these different tabs here. You get to choose the font. You'll see like the border here. Like some of these boxes in our example were really thick and some are thin. That's because of modifications I made in here. These other things right here saying where something is read-only or required. What that means is like if it's read-only, those are the white boxes that people can't type something into. You save that for your arithmetic. All right. Required means that somebody has to fill that out in order for the form to be submitted or completed. So that's what that other stuff is right there. We're not going to work with the do not export value portion. We're not going to mess with that. As far as options go, we're not going to work with that or actions, but we will go to format for a lot of things. If you're just working with plain text like somebody's name, just leave that as plain. If it's a number or it's a currency or percentage or date, that's where you would designate that from this drop down box. But if it's plain text, just leave it as plain. For validate, that's where you can use little programs or scripts to basically make sure that something is of a specific value. So when we get down here to like the hourly wage or the number of hours worked, we can basically designate, hey, this thing has to be between, their wage has to be between $1 and $25. Because if somebody puts in here that they get $500 an hour, then that's not allowed. So you get to do the validations through here. So you can use like that kind of validation where you get to input your values here, or if you had that custom script like a Python script or something, you check that and you go out and you put your scripts in there. The calculations, since this is just somebody's name, there are no calculations involved in it. But if when we get down here to where we're like trying to calculate gross pay, that's when we'll go into the value is the sum or the product or whatever of so-and-so math problem. Okay, so that's how this works. And so just to recap, I've got a first name as the name of the field here. I've got a tooltip of type in your first name, and I made sure that the format is plain. Now the only thing I might run into, because I copied when I copied over here, those PDF form controls came over from the other for my sample. It might kind of bulk on me here, but I may have to come up with like first name something that's different than what was over in that other one. But let's see if it's going to take it. So it looks like it took it. And so you do the same thing for last name and street address. These are also text fields, and those text fields again come from insert PDF text field. You come down here and you draw it. You put it in a box again, make it as big as you can, and you right click PDF options, go to the field properties, and then you type in what you want these to be. And this one would be the last name. And you'll see that I'm not putting spaces there. I'm doing that on purpose. I'm using what's called camel case with the names and not putting spaces, because if I ever get to a point where I'm going to pass this through a script to some program to be processed, having spaces in the names will generally cause problems. So if you really wanted to have a space in there, what I would recommend to you is to use an underscore or a dash. So that would be the only way I would try and put a space in there. But I typically use this what's called camel case, where you have the first letter of each word is capitalized. Type in your last name, and then again the format on this one is also going to be just plain text, and there's no calculations involved. So I will go ahead and hit OK on this one. Same thing for the street address. Let's get on down here to where we start working with the number of hours. All right, because this one will be a number down here. So how many hours did you work this week? Well, that's also going to be a text field. So I'm going to go click on this, insert PDF text field, and I'm going to draw the box for that. And where the difference comes in is that when I right click it, go to PDF options and go to the field properties, this is going to be hours worked. Type in how many hours you worked. And down here under format, what we're going to do, we're now going to go to a number. And now I get to designate how many decimals are involved. And in this case, because somebody could work a quarter of an hour, I'll make sure that there are 2 decimal places. It's not money, so I'm not going to put a currency symbol in here. As far as the formatting goes, if it gets up into the thousands, then it has you can choose to have a comma or not have a comma. If you're in Europe, you may want decimal point versus the commas, so you get to pick that. And so this is good. So I'm going to hit OK, because there are no calculations involved here, because we're just putting in how many hours you worked. So as far as calculations, we're still going to say value is not calculated. And so that's the number of hours worked. What about the hourly wage? Well, that's going to be a number as well. It's going to be a specific kind of number, right? So I'm going to go to insert PDF text field, draw that box, put that guy in here, and in its PDF options field properties, it's going to be your wage earned, and I'm going to call this type in how much you earn per hour. And the format of this one is going to be a number, and we're going to allow 2 decimals because it could be like 250, or sorry, 750 an hour, or 725, or 810, or whatever. You can have cents as well as dollars, right? I'm going to use the currency symbol here, and I have to designate which currency symbol to use. So I'm going to choose the dollar, but check this out. You have to prepend the currency symbol, because what that means, if you don't check this, when it puts in the dollar amounts, it's going to put the dollar at the end of the number. Which you think, well, that's really weird. Well, in Europe, where a lot of this was developed, sometimes they put the currency symbol at the end instead of the beginning. And so to get it to show up in the front, you have to prepend it as opposed to put it at the end. And so, now, again, there's no calculation in this one because you're just typing in how much you earn per hour. Hit OK. And then lastly, we get to this one, which is going to be our gross pay. This is our first math problem, arithmetic one we're going to put in here. And so we're going to insert a text field here, PDF text field. And this might be where I run into problems where with these names I've been putting in, I may see multiple instances of names, but we'll see if that happens. I'm going to right click, PDF options, field properties, and it's going to be like your gross weekly pay. And what the gross weekly pay is, that's how much you make before taxes, before Uncle Sam takes his chunk. And you made this much this week. Now, check this out. This is real important because this is a calculated field. It's going to be a calculated field. I want you to use read only. So when you check that box, the user doesn't get to do anything to get that value. That's going to pop up for them. That's going to populate for them. And that's why where the tooltip, if they hover over the top of it, it says you made this much. The format of it, it is a number, of course, and of course it's going to be a dollar amount, so there are 2 decimals, and we're talking about an American business, so we're going to have the dollar sign and prepend that dollar sign to it. But now we get to finally use this this calculate tab. So if we click on calculate, we can say that this value is, you look at your choices, you have the sum, which is when you add things, the product of when you multiply things, average, you know what an average is, there's minimum, maximum. So we want a product, correct? So we're in the product of, and now we have to pick our values. Now this is where I might, yeah, good. So basically we have the hours worked that we've created, and what I've done, I've selected over here on the left side. I'm going to move it to the right with this little arrow here. We're going to multiply the hours worked times the wage earned. I know I spelled that wrong. Hit OK. And what that does is basically it's going to give me the that calculation. So I'm going to hit OK. And I'll go ahead and I'm going to save this because now I have quite a bit of work in this document. So let me go ahead and save it. Go to File and Save. Let me go ahead and show you the export process, because let's go ahead and try it out. Let's see if it's working or not. And the way that you get a PDF, a version that you can actually work with, that you can fill out with Adobe Acrobat Reader, is to export this thing. And so I'm going to go to File and Export, and we're going to save as PDF. So again, File, Export, Save as PDF. Now this is real important. Look at this compatibility choice right here. Make sure that this is at 1.3. If you don't go to 1.3, it will not work. So go to PDF 1.3 at Acrobat 4, take it to the oldest version, put it there. It wants to put it in my folder called Mousetrap as my JimLindseyForm.pdf. That's great. I'm going to hit Save. Kind of goes through its process of doing it. Should be done. Let me jump out to that folder. And there's my Mousetrap folder right there. Let me make sure that, let me close everything else out of this guy so we don't get confused. So I have nothing open in Adobe PDF Reader right now. So let me go to Mousetrap and open up this JimLindseyForm.pdf. That should look familiar. That's what we just built. And let's zoom in here. Now let's see if we can actually start to work with this thing. Now we may get prompted here to to use to allow JavaScript is if you open this, like if we save this to our web space and then open it with our browser, we for sure would be prompted saying like, hey, do you want to let the JavaScript run in this? And then if that's the case, you say yes, you do, because the JavaScript lets like the tooltips and stuff pop up. Okay, I'm not seeing that prompt right now, so you can type in your name here. Very cool. For how many hours did you work this week? I worked 40. What's your wage? My wage is $12 an hour, and it's doing the math for me. So it's working. So our work so far is working. So great. So I'll go ahead and just close that guy out. So we now have a snapshot knowing that the stuff that we've done so far has worked. What we still need to do is the check boxes down here in this drop-down box. So I'll show you how to do those. Also, when we jump back in here, like let's say I put some crazy amount, like let's say I make $500 an hour. That'd be awesome. Work like 4 hours a week. You know that's not logical, right? So let me jump in there. When we jump back in, let's go to the validation and change that to where it's restricting someone to a certain range. Okay, so we'll do that, and then we'll do the check boxes and the combo box. Let me close that dude. And let's go back to our Scribus form. And you know we didn't have to close Scribus while we did that. Let's go to this hourly wage. I'm just going to select that PDF input box. I'm going to right click it, go to PDF options, field properties. Let me go to the validate tab, and we'll put in that range which would be acceptable for hourly wages. So the value must be greater than, let's say minimum wage was $7. And it has to be so greater than or equal to, and has to be less than, let's say we're not willing to pay more than $25 an hour. So somebody has to make between $7 and $25 an hour. All right, and you can have decimals in there, so like $7.01 or whatever. So there you go. So I'm hit OK. So when we go back next time, let's see if we can try and trick it and put like $1 in there or 500 and see if it works. So let's save that. So that's in there. Now let's get to our check boxes here, and these are pretty easy. As you hover over the top here, you'll see you can insert PDF check boxes, and these are much simpler than the text fields that we've been working with up here. This type of insert or field is called a text field. This one's just called a check box, and so I'm going to draw it. And I'll just do 2 of these. The way that you configure it is the same though. You right click, PDF options, field properties, and then you get to give it a name. So I believe this one is for cheese, cheese topping, and you only get 3 options there. But basically, that's all I'm going to require of you guys with the check boxes, where you put a name in there, because you could put a tooltip on there. Check this box if you want cheese on your pizza. That would be an additional tooltip, which would be helpful to somebody. Again, so how do we get that checkbox in there? You go to the Insert PDF checkbox, you select it, you draw it, and then you're going to give it its name. Now, where would this name come into play? I'm going to right-click PDF, field properties, pep topping. This would come into play like if you were passing this information off to be stored into a database, or if you were sending this to be emailed to somebody, the value of the name would show up, would be written to the database or be supplied as the value in the email that the corresponding script would be processing. And so that's where that name comes into play. So that's the check boxes. That's really easy. The last one I want to show you is this combo box, and it's kind of weird. So the combo box comes from right here. So insert PDF combo box. So you draw your box, and again, make it big. But here's the weird part. When you want to modify and put the values in here for this combo box, where you do that is from this little button that's called Edit Text. Again, from the regular toolbar up here, there's an icon that looks like a notebook with a pencil on top of it. You hover over the top of it, it says Edit Text. So you click on that. And each choice that you put each line of choice is going to be a choice in the drop-down box. All right, so I'm going to put like choose your animal from this list. So what this, I'm going to hit enter to go to the next line. I'm going to put like a lion. What this question is asking is, what do you want as a pet? So I'm a lion, a tiger, a bear, a scarecrow, a mammoth. So I'm probably spelling all this wrong. I'm just trying to do this as we go. But when you get your choices in here, what you want to do, hit the green box. So update text frame. And you do that and it puts those guys in there. And then what you do is you take the little slider box here, the sizing handle, and make it the size of the top choice. And then just center it in your space. All right, so again, what you do is delete that real quick. You insert your combo box. You draw your combo box. And to get the combo box values in there, you use this edit text button right there. And each one of your lines is going to be what somebody gets as a choice. So I'll type that in there. So you have your choices in there. To get those to take, you click the green box right there, update the text frame, bam, there you go. And then make that the size of the list. Now, I'm going to have to make mine wider to make it fit. There you go. And so I'll have to make the corresponding white box wider as well. There you go. And I'll save it. And now let's just export this as PDF and see if this works. All right, so let me go to File, Save, get it all saved. File, Export, Save as PDF. Again, make sure you're in the PDF 1.3 and take it back to that jimlindseyform.pdf. Save it. You want to replace the existing one? Yes. So now it's been saved. Let me jump to my folder. There it is. Let me open it up, see if our new things work. So as I zoom in here, let's try our drop down box first. See if our choices are there. Yep, there's a lion, tiger, bear, wolf, possum, snake, whatever. Choose whichever one of those you want. So we got those. Our check boxes work. You can check or uncheck them. Let's see if our hourly wage works. Let's try it $1. Hey, it has to be at least 7 and not more than 26. Okay. Let me try 500 because that'd be a great wage. And it's not going to take that. So what if I put 25 in there? It's good to go. And so that is the process. And so now you have a working PDF form. Your viewer has a working PDF form that they could complete and then print, or complete and save. I'm going to save as. I'll just put this on the desktop and call it, so I can find it, lamp. I'm looking around my office here. And I'll close that out. If I go to my desktop, there should be a PDF format here called lamp. There it is. Open it up with those values in it. So there is the process to create PDF forms with Scribus that a user can fill out. And we went with text fields here, we went with check boxes here, we went with combo boxes down here. These are just colored rectangles and text fields laid on top of a blank page. The important part is you're working from this Adobe PDF toolbar, and you're inserting these either text fields, check boxes, or combo boxes. If you have questions or if you forget something, please refer back to this. You have this lesson to refer to, but you also have the get to my support files that are on the Blackboard side. This reading assignment has the details. This is where I learned it from, right here. And so you have the same resource that I had to learn how to do this that you can also learn from. So take advantage of this. This is from the Scribus official manual, and so you're not going to find any better information than that. So thank you for your attention. I hope that you will find utility for this. I hope this is going to be something that will help you at your job. Again, finding something that allows you to create Adobe PDF stuff for free is really, really rare. And so take advantage of this. This might be something that only you may be the only person in your office that knows how to do this. So use that. Take advantage of that. So thanks for your time and attention, and you guys have a great day.